Hello, welcome to Unit 10 Day 1. If you finished the Unit 9 test, you should be grabbing a new note card. You can use this on your quiz today and the rest of the week, so please make sure that you take notes as you go. Today we are doing solving squares, so we're going to be solving problems involving square roots. All right, so as we remember our orders of operations, the opposite of adding is subtracting. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. The opposite of squaring something then is square rooting. All right, so that's kind of our goal today. So the square root property says that whenever I have an x squared function, which is a u shape, I always get two answers because I always have matching points on each side of the u. So if I use what I just said, the opposite of squaring is square rooting. The square root of 25, that means what number multiplies to 25? That's the same, so 5 times 5. So it's 5 and it's also negative 5 because 5 times 5 is 25 and negative 5 times negative 5 is also 25. All right. Now this next part is something you're for sure going to want to write on your note card. So 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81. I don't know why I put a dot there. 100, 121, 144. Those are all perfect squares because 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4, and so forth. I just went up to 12. There might be a couple that are a little bigger, but for now, that's what we're going to go up to. All right, and the last definition or vocab is non-perfect square. So what we're going to do if we get a number like 20 is when we square root 20, instead of writing two answers like 5 and negative 5, we're just going to write our answer as positive and negative root 20. So when you get to numbers that are not perfect squares, make sure that you just leave them as positive and negative root 20 because as we stated, we should always get two answers. All right, so let's start with some basic examples here. Feel free to write any of these on your note card. So to get rid of a squared, we want to make sure the x squared is alone. So I'm going to square root both sides. So square root of 121, as we just found, that's 11. So my answer, again, remember, is going to be 11 and negative 11. All right. So go ahead and try the next one. It's a pretty basic example. So I square root, since x squared is by itself, and the square root of 36 is 6 and negative 6. All right. All right, the last two examples here are a little different. So when I square root this one, we think that we look back and see that, oh, 16 is 4 squared. But since it's negative, we actually are going to get no solution. So the square root of negative 16 is no solution. The square root of positive 16 would be 4 and negative 4. All right, we want to make a little note over here then. Square root of negative numbers are no solution. That's our first big note. Second note, you always get two answers. And the third note I'm going to write is what we need to do on number 4. You need to make sure the x squared is alone before you square root. All right. So in order to solve this one, we need to use what we did at the very beginning of the year. The opposite of a minus 7 is a positive 7. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. I get x squared equals 25. All right, and now the x squared is alone, so I can do what I've done on all the other problems. I can square root both sides. So I get x equals 5 and negative 5, right? All right, so now these next examples are a little different because we have parentheses. So that's going to be my fourth note. When you have parentheses, you get two different answers. So you won't get 5 and negative 5. You'll get numbers like 5 and negative 1. Different. All right, so you're going to see this process. So I can't get to this 5, so I need to get rid of the squared first. So I'm going to square root both sides. Now remember, when I square root, I get 2 answers. So I still have x minus 5 because I didn't do anything with that. So I'm going to write that out twice. X minus 5 could equal, the square root of 16 is positive 4. The square root of 16 could also be negative 4. Now normally on all the other ones I've done, my answer was just 4 and negative 4. But I still have to use my solving skills to move this minus 5 over. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. My first answer is 9. Same thing on this one. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. My second answer is 1. So go ahead and pause the video and try the next one. All right, so I can't get to the 2, so I'm going to square root both sides. So I'm going to write my equation out twice. X plus 2 could equal, the square root of 49 is positive 7 or negative 7. And then to get rid of that plus 2, I'm going to minus 2 on this one. So one answer is 5. I'm going to minus 2 on both sides of this one. One answer is also negative 9. So notice that's what I mean by 2 different answers. You have a 9 and a 1 or a 5 and a negative 9. They're not the same. All right, now the last one doesn't have parentheses, so I don't need to go through that process. I just need to get the x squared alone. So I'm going to minus 6 from both sides. And then I got the x squared alone, so I'm going to square root. And this is an example of a non-perfect square. So remember what we wrote is we just leave it as positive and negative root 6 because we don't know the square root of 6. So we're just going to leave it as positive and negative root 6, right? So once you finish watching the video, go ahead on Google Classroom and find the Unit 10 Quiz 1. Go ahead and complete that, and you can move on to the next one. Have a good day.